Hey everyone, we're here with Dr. Pepper Schwartz, who stars as an expert on the TV show Married at First Sight. And today we're going to be talking about sex drive myths and how to spice your sex life up, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. I'm sure that's in a lot of people's minds. So welcome, Dr. Schwartz.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's cool here.
Yeah. So let's start talking about the impact of a healthy sex life. I think, we hear about how it can impact your relationship, but what are some ways that it can impact your life overall?
Well, remember, your sex life, your urges or lack thereof sometimes, is not like separate from your whole body. It's, it's part of how you function in the world, and it's not separate from your mind. So if you don't have a good sex life, if you're not feeling it, if you're not getting pleasure from it, it could affect your self-esteem. It could be something that kind of distracts your focus because you're thinking about what didn't happen or what's wrong. Your self-confidence, it's a lot of things, that could, even your health, which is a whole other topic we could go into. That's why we really are interested in what we call FSD, which is female sexual disorders or dysfunctions, female sexual dysfunction. And there's basically 4 different types that we concentrate on. One is problems with desire. One is problems with arousal. You want somebody, but nothing feels good.
Right.
Orgasm, you want it, you can't get it. And pain, which a lot of women suffer with.
And so dispelling some of those sex drive myths, what would you say are some of the biggest ones about having a low sex drive?
Well, I think one of the biggest myths is that it happens, that somehow it's natural. We believe, and I think there's a whole clinical discourse on HSDD, which hyposexual desire disorder, which is a fancy way of saying, I don't want anything. I don't want you. I might love you, but I don't want you. And if you have those kinds of problems, it starts to interfere with the myth of a connection. I mean, the idea, excuse me, I shouldn't say the myth of connection, I say the myth of disconnection, that somehow you don't need sexuality, that it isn't important for your life, that it isn't critical in a relationship, that somehow another myth is that women don't want sex as much as men, or that you hit a certain age, it's not important. Those are all myths. They are things that people believe sometimes because, we've been told sex is wrong and there's lots of guilt and stigma about it.
Right.
But the fact is, there's no reason this isn't a lifelong gift. There's certainly no reason it should happen when you're young, unless maybe there is a medical or other kind of condition that's making it a problem. And women can be very sexy, beings. In fact, there's some religions that think that women are far more sexual than men. So the idea that we should close down at any part of our life is really going in the wrong direction.
And, sort of distinguishing sexual fatigue from a possible medical condition, what are some signs that it's not, everyday stress that's affecting your low sex drive and that it is actually a medical condition?
Well, one of the definitions of HSDD is that it's persistent over a long period of time, that it's not a bad night, but could be a bad year, that you are bothered by it, that's something you want, that's not comfortable for you.
Right.
And so, everybody goes through ups and downs in their sex life, right? You could have depression at some point. You could have some kind of anxiety. Your work might be taking over. That's not what we're talking about.
Right. And why do you think it's awkward for some women to come face to face with their problems in bed?
Well, first of all, I think it's hard for some women to come face to face with sex, period.
Right.
One of the things that always astounds me is that most women don't ask for what they want. They don't say, this isn't working for me.
Right.
Even, could you just do that a little bit in a different place, right? So you can imagine that if they don't do that, they're going to be inhibited about saying, I'm not feeling it. I'm faking an orgasm because I don't want you to feel bad.
Exactly.
All the kinds of things where the stigmas that go around sex in general in female, even, women often, and this is true for men as well, they can do it rather than talk about it.
Yeah.
They can get involved in an intimate relationships and not be truly intimate and talk about what's really going on. We have all been kind of traumatized about sex, so we have to kind of bring the satisfactions and dissatisfactions to the surface and talk. Talk to our intimate other, talk to health professionals or therapists if we're experiencing what we think might be HSDD or any kind of sexual problem. I've met women who think that pain is something that comes with sex.
Right,
It should never happen during sex, right? So the dialogue on what I'm feeling and who I really am and what's really happening between you and me, not you and me, you and your partner, is just so essential to have.
Right. And so let's discuss some ways to turn up the heat, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. We thought it would be fun to have you rank, some common ways to spice things up in bed. So we have 3 emojis. We have a heat emoji, we have a thumbs up emoji, and a heart emoji. So I'll go through these, and you can tell the audience how you feel about them. So the first one is emotional connection. So how do you think, couples can work on getting the emotional connection back?
Well, first of all, I think that's definitely going to be a flame because for many women, if the connection isn't there, the flame isn't going to go, right? So I think one of the things is being honest. We've been talking about that. And I have to say that we do have a website called findmyspark.com, which means get to the flame, right? Which is where you level with each other and you talk about the intimate experience. I love it when you do this to me. If we, I'm not going to get too graphic right now. I can if you want me to. But the idea being that the more you can say, the more intimate it feels, the more trust you have between each other, and the more you can actually start to have what you need. And I think that's when you say, that's the kind of dialogue that demonstrates you've gone deeper and that this is really a relationship with some emotional integrity because this is the person you should trust most in the world. And if you can't say these kinds of things, then there's things to fix in that relationship or maybe think about the relationship in general.
Great. And number 2, we have building trust, which I know you just mentioned a little bit. So how would we rank building trust?
Well, I think it's really important for love. And it both shows it and builds it. And the more you trust someone, the more sexual you can be. Right? Because you could say, okay, I've known women who wouldn't turn over because they don't like that angle of their body, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you trust someone's love and you trust their appreciation of you, you can have a much more complex sex life because it's now something that you feel totally comfortable and loved and appreciated in.
Right. And what are some ways that couples can build trust?
Well, I think it takes time. It's not instant trust. In fact, I distrust instant trust, because you have to see what people really do, not what they say.
Right.
But part of it is how they feel, what they say to you when you say it to them. If you're offering something like, I really think you're a great person because, and nothing comes back at you, or if that person goes out of their way to tell you where they are, what they're doing, when they were thinking of you, and you can do that to them, they don't want you to worry.
Right.
A person who loves you doesn't want you to worry and keeps giving you reasons not to worry. Those are the things that build trust.
Great. And next up, we have confidence in the bedroom.
Oh, gosh, I think this one for sure. That one, definitely. That one,
It gets everything.
Because if you have confidence, you can really enjoy your own body. You can explore your partner's body, male or female. This is a kind of thing that is so sexy. I think a lot of us worry about weight. We should worry about confidence.
Right.
If we feel good about ourselves, everything works right.
Awesome. And what are, if you feel a little bit insecure in general, what are some ways to build up your self-esteem in bed?
Well, I think build it up out of bed first, do whatever work you have to do to feel good about yourself. Get educated, get information. That's why I like this website, findmyspark.com, or lots of other websites that tell you about what those things are out there. And then I think physical activity. Do yoga, do exercise, learn your body, and feel like you own your body, and you'll own it in bed too.
Right. Great. And number 4, we have massages.
I like massages. And I think if they're done well, because there is such a thing as an erotic massage, right? I think it'd be great if a couple takes a massage class together. Because sometimes people do sort of annoying little massages like that, and you're like, oh God, why don't I see what anyone likes it?
Puts you to sleep.
But if exactly, or it just annoys you, right? But if you get some lessons and you can find out, just how erotic it would be to have certain kinds of touch, with it being erotic, not just immediate, foreplay to sex, I think it can be really hot.
Great. And what about role-playing?
Role-playing is kind of the PhD of sex, I think, because you have to be able to get out of yourself and take on another persona and then keep it so that you don't giggle or embarrass each other, right? So if you're going to play the chauffeur, you got to be able to continue it, right? I think it's wonderful to have sexual fantasies, but I don't want to judge anybody if they can't do it. I'd say it's really hot if you can do it, and it might just be okay if you just try and it doesn't work. But I think it shows lots of love and intimacy to try.
Great. And what, if you're new to role-playing, maybe trying it out for Valentine's Day for the first time, what's a way to introduce it to your partner?
Well, one thing would be pretend it's your first date, and have, come all dressed up and notice each other and go through the motions as if it was just the first time you'd ever met and maybe the first time you'd ever made love. And I think that might be fun because you could either reenact what it was really like, or just bring a new freshness to it.
Great. And then sex toys.
I'm very big on sex toys. I think they can really turn up the heat, and they certainly show trust, particularly because, I always tell guys, about vibrators. I say, this is not your competition. This is your colleague. This is going to help you get your woman in the highest, most erotic space she could be in, And it's not the supplement of emotional closeness. It's something to do together. It's even something to shop for together. I think they make great Valentine's Day gifts in the right relationship. Obviously, if you're not very close, it would be like, oh my God, right? Timing is everything. But under the right circumstances, definitely think of it as hot. Definitely think of it as something that would be wonderful to have together.
Great. And then lastly, bringing food into bed. Would you recommend any food to increase sexual pleasure?
Well, first of all, if I could put it down about food into bed, it could be very crummy, literally, and itchy and, distract you. But if it's the right food, like if you were feeding each other strawberries or something that, isn't going to kind of be icky, I think it's fine. But, I'd say have your picnic on the floor and then get into bed.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about Married at First Sight's spin-off show, Second Chances?
Sure. It's David. Whoops, I don't know if I'm supposed to say who it is yet. Okay, let's just say it's two people who did not have a successful marriage, and they're going to get a huge number of dates to choose from, and they're going to winnow it down to see if they can really make an important connection. Because we like these people, we think they have the ability to find true love and to make a commitment, but for various reasons, as people who watch the show know, it didn't work for them the first time. Maybe we can do better the second time. So it's their second chance.
Great. And if women want to learn more about sparking a dialogue with their sexual health and learning more, where can they go?
Well, I've talked about it. FindMySpark.com. I think that's a really great place to go. They could also go to the American Social Health Association.com. There's others that they can look up even by keywords. But I think what we've done in FindMySpark.com is have a bunch of quizzes there that they can use to do some self-analysis, resources, and I think a credible site that can help them make their own decisions about where their sexuality is at and who they should go to see if they have further exploration that they need from a health professional, medical profession, therapist, whatever.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Schwartz.
Well, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah. And everyone have a happy Valentine's Day.